Hi, so if you're here, it's probably because you, or perhaps someone you may manage, for example, is self-sabotaging. And it's an incredibly common thing. In fact, it's a shocking fact that about 40% of people sabotage their business careers and results to a chronic level. Okay, we all self-sabotage a bit from time to time. Okay, that's normal. That's being human. I'm talking about when this becomes a really consistent and chronic problem. So a little bit of self-sabotage, welcome to being human. But if you know you're holding yourself back, you're underperforming, you're underselling yourself, underpromoting yourself, you won't go for that job, you hold back from saying your ideas, it can come up in lots of different ways. But it's a very, very common problem. And I look at this number 40% over the years, 20 years of doing this, it's consistent. About 40% of people do this. So don't worry, you're not the only one. And it's so common, we've even created a term for it because of the mechanism of how it happens. We call it a sabotage loop. And what a sabotage loop does is the fear of something or trying to make sure something doesn't happen becomes so all important to you at the unconscious level that you'll spend a lot of your time in a conflict with yourself, you wanting to do things, you know you're capable of doing things, but then this is saying, no, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you do this. It's too dangerous. It's too risky. It's too scary. It's too whatever it is. And the loop happens because your brain is always looking for things or opportunities in life for this thing that you fear or you don't want to happen. So it's looking for the dangers all of the time, and it never lets go because part of that thinking says, if I'm not there to protect you from this terrible thing, then you're going to be in danger. So it keeps looping, it keeps looking, it never gives up. And this is why people we work with can have this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And it stops talented, smart, skillful people from achieving because why they want to move forward, why they want to go for the next goal or the next opportunity or that promotion or whatever, this jumps in and goes, no, I'm not going to let you. So it creates a conflict, which leads to huge frustration, emotional pain, the perception of low self-esteem, the perception of loss of control. This is a huge topic we go into with our clients. The list goes on of all the things it damages, that makes us feel like. But it's highlighted by a conflict in your mind. You know you're capable of more. You don't want to self-sabotage, probably while you're watching this. But there's another part of your thinking that says, no, I'm going to make you hold back. I'm going to stop you from doing something. So you end up arguing with yourself internally, and you think you're going crazy. Sometimes people think they're going a little bit nuts. But actually, it's you trying to help yourself by being overprotective. So here's the 5 things that if you identify with, you think, oh yeah, actually, I think I've got a sabotage loop. So 5 dangerous things which create self-sabotage. An extreme focus, number 1, an extreme focus on what you don't want. When I'm working with people and they say, hey, Stephen, I know I should be doing this, but they then tell me about all the things that scare them, all the things that are damaging to them. And actually, one of the things that we find, 90% of the people we work with don't have goals, proper goals. I mean, goals where you celebrate and you get to feel good, even thinking about achieving them, let alone achieving them, because their goals are all about not failing, not messing up, not looking stupid, not being embarrassed, not whatever it happens to be. So this extreme focus on what you don't want almost has become like a goal to them. But the whole of the time it's like, could it happen? Could it happen? Could it happen? So it then creates this other thing that you need to think about. Number 2, a lot of painful emotion, especially fear. So you're focusing on what you don't want. I don't want this to happen. I don't want that to happen. So you live in fear. You live in fear of what might happen. And I was just commenting on someone I know on Facebook, and they're doing a great job. They're having the best sales run of their life. Their company's doing brilliantly. And then they suddenly become anxious because they're doing so well. So that seems a bit strange and a bit weird, but unconsciously they've hit a sabotage problem where I'm doing too well. And I literally responded to them with a little bit of guidance on how to go and find what that is. Because once you find what it is, you can then work out what the real problem is. Was it real or not real? So if you are in a lot of fear, fear is a good emotion. Fear is a useful emotion if you're using it well, at the right time, the right place. It stops you doing daft stuff. But if you've got excessive amount of fear, which stops you doing from what you know you're capable of doing, or even if it's a reasonable risk, you should do it. A bit nervous, but that's okay. Then you've got too much fear, and that's an indication of you're self-sabotaging. Another one, number 3. Being a people pleaser, meaning what you're doing is to get the approval of other people. This is a huge sabotage indicator that what you do is your goals, your self-esteem, your feeling good about yourself basically comes through the approval of somebody else. You have to think about what others want before you let yourself think about what you want. So if you're a people pleaser, this will create sabotage behavior. And there's all sorts of issues around this, but it's about getting the approval of somebody else. It's one of the most common things. Getting the approval of somebody else, getting the endorsement of somebody else before you allow yourself to endorse yourself. So if you think about self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, it's pretty hard to get those if you're always waiting for somebody else to approve of you. And especially if this person was from your dim and distant past and you're waiting for them to approve of you, tell you they love you, be proud of you. This is a hugely powerful sabotage indicator. So many of the people I work with, it's about because of something in their past where they wanted someone to like them, love them, approve of them, and they're still trying to get it now, 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, when there's almost no chance of it ever happening, but they're still in that system. So if you're a people pleaser, it's going to cause sabotage problems. I guarantee it. If you've got an painful internal conflict, as I described earlier, if you are always arguing with yourself, not having a debate about, is this the best thing to do or should I do this? That's good decision making, weighing up options, what's the best thing to do. But if it almost feels like there's two people inside your head arguing about how you should live your life, run your business, run your career, how much you can do, how big your goals are. If you've got a big argument inside your head, that's going to create sabotage behavior. And the reason for that is you may feel that you're capable of doing something. But if your sabotage thinking is saying, that's too dangerous, that's too scary, you mustn't do that. The moment you have a goal, this wakes up and you get the argument. And what happens in our body, most people will err on the side of the perception of safety. So they listen to the sabotage thinking, which is actually saying don't do anything. So sometimes they don't even allow themselves to have any goals anymore, because having a goal wakes this up, says, no, you're not good enough, you're going to fail, you're going to look stupid, you're going to waste your money, you're going to whatever. And then what happens is this conflict is horrendous to live with. So that's what the first thing we do. The first thing we do when we're working with clients is turn this conflict off so we can see what they're really capable of doing. So if you have a painful internal conflict, almost like two people in your head arguing about how to live your life, run your business, run your career, then that's a big key indicator for sabotage behavior. And then finally, number 5, as we said, running a sabotage loop. This is when you are so determined to not have something happen to you, it becomes all encompassing and it takes over basically. It takes over from what you're capable of doing, because it becomes excessively obsessed by not losing money or not being known or successful, or so you won't get judged or criticized, or people won't leave you, for example. The finding out what's underlying this sabotage loop is the first thing we do. And I had this. My one started when I was 5 years old, something I never did. I got blamed for something I didn't actually do, but I became the shyest kid in school because for the next 25 years, my brain said, make sure nobody ever shouts at you like that in public again, humiliates you in public again. I was terrified. I was 5, and it's something I hadn't done. So it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be real. But if our brain latches onto something and it just says, I'm going to protect you from ever having that experience again because it was so painful, so horrible, it thinks it's helping you. And that's why it gets in the loop, because it never wants to stop, because the moment it stops, you're not going to get protected anymore. So it thinks it's helping you, but then it causes an absolute nightmare for your real life. You underperform, you're not happy, you live in fear, you have this massive conflict. And it's basically a horrible way to live. But it's actually pretty easy to fix. Promise you. I did it for myself. I had to work it out and been doing this for the last 20 years. So the best bit after turning that off, which takes about 4 weeks, doesn't matter how long you had it, we got it down to 4 weeks. We're pretty good at what we do here. The best bit is then, once you turn that off, what could you go and do? And people do the most amazing stuff, because it's like they're driving with one foot on the brake. They want to move forward, but they keep putting their foot on the brake. So once you take that foot off the brake, when it's not, when it's been on there too long, too hard, when it shouldn't be on there at all, it means you can start accelerating. But what happens is the thought of that, the thought of phoning us up, getting in contact, booking in a call with us, actually kicks off this sabotage thinking, and it says, no, you can't even do that, because if you go and work with Stephen, then who's going to protect you? Well, actually, the real you doesn't need protecting, because the real you is pretty smart and capable of protecting itself. Turning off this excessive thinking is what we do, but this sabotage loop says it doesn't want to be turned off. So this is why you might resonate with this, but you won't take action, because now this is woken up and going, no, you can't do that. And that's the biggest reason why people get stuck, is because it's fearful of being fixed. It's fearful of not, that part of your brain is fearful of not being there, because it's not going to be there to protect you anymore, even though you know, logically, sensibly, that it's caused a nightmare. So pluck up the courage, book in a call, and then we'll show you how quickly you can turn the sabotage thinking off. And I promise you, once you take the foot off the brake, people with a bit of drive and determination fly, because it's just freedom. So I hope this has been useful to you. These are the 5 things to pay attention to. If you've got any of those, you've probably got, if you're doing this, you've probably got most of them. Just book in a call and let's get it sorted. It takes about 4 weeks. Anyway, hope this has been useful to you. Hope to speak to you soon. And yeah, you don't have to live with this massive conflict and all this fear. It's not necessary. It's not what you're designed for. You can do much better than that and have a much nicer life, actually enjoying what you're doing and being more successful too. Promise you, that's what our clients do. We're very good at helping people. Anyway, I'll let you go now, and I hope we get to chat.